This video is for everyone who's brand new at LMU Ultimate. The first 10 hours of this game I actually learned a lot, and I'm gonna squeeze that 10 hours into 10 minutes so you can benefit from that knowledge. We'll talk about the best way to start and if it's worth it to get into LMU Ultimate. I'm sim racing already for multiple years on a lot of different simulators. Let's get into it. So when you open up the game, you get this screen. What should you do in the first 10 hours of playing? I will tell you right now. You go to race weekend. You pick this one. You pick a track that you know best, because that's the best way to compare a lap from a sim that you already know or a simple track. I would definitely go for Spa. It's a really easy track to learn as well. It's very overview. This car you're not gonna pick, this one. These cars you're not gonna pick. Also the LMP2 you're not gonna pick. You're gonna pick the CD3 car, the McLaren, because that one is free. You only have to buy the early access and then you can actually drive this car on Spa. Let's go. You don't gonna do this one or this one, just take these off and remove this one so you'll be alone on track. And I would advise you to, let's say, leave everything at default. Now, I know you still need to adjust the steering wheel, you need to have force feedback settings and all that stuff. I would recommend to go into my Patreon. It's a free members as well. I will post there all my settings and all the stuff that I'm learning in small posts. So, because the videos take a very long time to make. So, the first time you're on track, with the car, I would suggest to not touch the car setup, but the fuel. The fuel is always on the maximum. You don't have to run with max fuel. So I would always go for like, I don't know, 40%, 8 laps. That's something. I would keep the default setup. Don't change the setup. I'm a huge setup guy, but it's very important that you just learn the car from the basic setup, because you will have no clue what to change. The reason why I want to pick a GT3 car, there's so much new stuff coming at you, all these different things you can change, and you need to look at fuel levels, gear changes, and we're gonna talk about the ABS, traction control slip settings, the ones you can use. So understand that first before you get into it too deeply. You want to do some bindings on your steering wheel so you can very easily change to this menu. Traction control 8, power cut, and slip angle. I will tell you right now which settings I really like the most. I really like the most the 7, traction control cut just on 6, and the slip I put on 4. This way I am driving the best and most consistent and pretty decent lap times. The ABS, you can drop it, but you hear the wheel slip. I'm not so certain if that will increase your braking performance. Probably it will, but it's very hard to, if you bring it down, it doesn't really work well. If you are a beginner and you're losing it all the time, it's very simple. Just increase that brake bias like this, 52, 48. When you lock it up and you steer too much, it becomes way more forgiving, and every time you can save it somehow, that is a bonus to me, because if you keep going off, then yeah, because this game is pretty hard to master. These settings I really found useful. Obviously, you want to maybe increase the slip angle cut and traction control if you're absolutely super newbie. So, important, don't touch the pit limiter, because you immediately get a stop and go penalty. That's really something you need to know. And there's something strange going on at the moment with the slow driving, because on this, like, I'm not sure, but something feels off with the steering from the pit exit. Now, as for the driving, if you have your wheel settings, I have my old ACC wheel settings, the force feedback settings from ACC, but I took all the road effects off for this Mosa wheelbase. Again, if you're interested in those settings, you need to check out, become a free member on my Patreon. All the content is there for settings and all that. So what is the plan? The plan is first heat up the tires, because the tires, again, you want to go to this menu, and here we have on the bottom left the temperatures. Now the temperatures, I would like in real racing at least, you want to be slowly and maybe touch the brakes a lot and get these tires heat up, because it seems that when you immediately start pushing with cold tires, you create all these flat spots on it, and yeah, you basically destroy them in the first lap. So you want to drive some like slow out lap and get a feel for how the game is behaving, because that will actually heat up the tires better and you'll be set to drive normal laps. Now again, you're gonna have to learn the game and you're gonna have to learn the track, but I would not stick around too much in this alone free practice session, because that, I don't know, that's just no fun, is it? What to do instead? Well, you go to online, and then in the online you pick the dailies, and then what you're gonna get is this fixed event, and it means the fixed setup. So everybody needs to use a fixed setup. I think that's great when you're starting out. Now this is the Sebring International Raceway. The last time I was on the track was on Forza 7 on the controller, and I just get really excited to do this. So I click this, but obviously I need to learn that track, and you can join a practice. First you need to register, and then here you pick your car and you register for the event, right? Now it says 20 minutes. You can join a practice. When you do, I recommend, if you only have a few minutes left, to not go into the practice, because for me that failed the first time. There's like too small of a window. You don't want to miss this timer. At least that's how I experienced it. I would always pick like a lobby that is for the practice is like a few spots. I don't like these full practice lobbies, because now I'm just gonna learn that track. Now obviously you need to have some experience. You need to try to not hit other people, because the report system, it seems it's really easy to report somebody. So if you want to wreck everyone, yeah, you're probably gonna ditch you out really quick. Now as for the driver experience, it's a little bit of some iRacing traits when on corner entry, but I promise you it's not that bad as in iRacing itself. You can actually save it, but yeah, and just make sure you have a clean entry when you go off, because that might happen. The game is pretty harsh and difficult to understand in the beginning, but yeah, this is just one situation. This next situation I will show how it actually goes wrong. So I slowed this down a little bit so you can really see, and don't make this mistake yourself. So it's basically turning in and braking too much, and then the front gets really grippy, and there you just start a slide, you cannot stop. So it's important, especially with the like a little bit of a lower brake bias, that you kind of want to keep that wheel straight and really respect that front end when you're entering the corner. So really careful inputs on the beginning. Well, if you feel it sliding, you can save it, but like in this instance, when we go really fast, yeah, you just lose it, and I see a lot of people flying off like that. Then as for the driving, the experience that I gained from ACC really helps me in Le Mans Ultimate. I can really get a great feeling after a few hours. So the first hour, the second hour you play this game and you're coming from ACC or maybe another sim, it can really feel strange, and the force feedback can be strange. Obviously there will be better settings later, as in force feedback settings, what I feel it's a little bit of ACC on borderline, yeah, but I think that's better than that feeling you can have in ACC. Sometimes I wish there was a bit more, but yeah, really detailed. I like the way the car jump over curbs. I get a real feel for how I'm in the fast corners. There's basically a little bit of a dead zone as soon as you don't have any force anymore, because if you understeer, the wheel gets light. But yeah, that's a little bit of a feeling you get used to. Maybe they optimize it. Also, the slow corners feel a little bit deaf. I don't really feel so much in slow corners. And also, that's why I recommend to stick away from the LMP2 and the hypercar first, because those cars are really unforgiving on corner entry with the braking. So yeah, on the slow corners, I think there's some work to be done to get a little bit of a more feeling. And the future. How is this game gonna go in the future? Well, I could not get it up to working after the GD3 update, and I got great support from the Discord, from the LMU Discord members, and I actually got in a private chat with somebody who really fixed my problem, and I had a little bit more of a chat with the guy. So the guy that supported me, his name was Will, and he was one of the licensing managers of Llama Ultimate, and he just jumped in to help me out, just to support whenever he can. And he also mentioned, like, I asked him some questions about, like, I can tell to the community, and they said there's gonna be driver swaps, custom liveries, and the Valkyrie and the Mercedes AMG GD3 will come to Le Mans Ultimate as well. Before, I was kind of skeptical about it because I also could not get it to work, but if I see now how many people are kind of working to get everybody on the game and like work on the box and all that stuff, yeah, that sounds really promising to me. So again, I'm sponsoring them with a membership because I like for them to succeed and be like a great sim, especially for the LMP and the hypercars, which I take a massive interest in. And there's one thing I'd like to see a lot more in this game, and that is a lot more tracks. Hopefully they put in a lot more tracks than they have now. I would pay for that as well, no issues. It's better to pay for it than it not being there at all. If you want to go into the first setup changes with a GD3 car in Le Mans Ultimate, I highly recommend this video. It is a broad video for all the simulators to get into car setups with the first 4 steps. Thanks for watching.